It's just that his email is the only one I can see. The others are redacted. So here it says worse than fragile, deep shit. They already threw their contact off a 40-story building. Same with Adelson. Anyone with Macau interests is fragile, right? So let's look at this. You remember some things here. Macau, 40-story building. What's this? Like 2019, the first, right? Now, look at this. China's top Macau liaison, suffering from depression, dies after falling from the building where he lived. This was in October 21st, 2018. So this is basically 2 months and a week after this happened. There's emails with Epstein and redacted people talking about this. But it's talking about it in a different context. Of course, this article here makes note that he was suffering from depression, and then it doesn't say he jumped. It says he fell. But it's a weird. But then there was another story related to this, which was years before. Remember? Oh, it wasn't just so back to this. We had 40-story building and we had Macau, and then we had a case that was very similar to that, right? And also same with Adelson, right? He's talking about Donald in here too. Donald doesn't respect him at all. So he said same with Adelson, right? Now look at this. This was from 2015. China feared CIA worked with Sheldon Adelson's Macau casinos to snare officials. Report commissioned by Adelson's company uncovered from documents filed as part of the ongoing lawsuit shows Beijing was concerned officials were gambling with public money, leaving them vulnerable to blackmail. So what I'm putting together now is either they did push him off the roof, or they had blackmail on him, and the other thing happened. China feared that casinos in Macau, owned by the billionaire gambling magnate and Republican Party funder Sheldon Adelson. This is, of course, Miriam Adelson was a large donor. Yeah, that was why the name sounded familiar. That makes sense. They gave Trump like 250, 300 million or something. So yeah, interesting, right? That he's involved in this Macau thing. There's blackmail involved. Epstein is having private iMessages about this. This is very, very weird. The report, citing sources in Beijing, said Sands Macau is the primary subject of claims by Chinese officials of collusion with American intelligence services. So let's look at this conversation again with that context. I think I could get this done. His wife would never speak to him again, probably a blessing. Reed wouldn't be military with the required courtesy. I'm not sure who Reed is or who Reed could be. I convinced Reed not to be Pelosi's bitch. That gives more context. Reed Hoffman. Okay, that makes sense. Would be a huge move. Media would go nuts because of the criminal implications. You're right. It would need some finesse. Vernon Jordan played that role with Bill. Trump ain't got a Vernon Jordan. Ain't got a friend. If Wynn thinks he needs an intervention, that's a huge tell. No, F 100%. And it's unfortunate because I don't know who is sending what. You know what I mean? Because of the way the redactions are. However, he has a DOJ issue. So nervous. All tangentially related to your boy K-Walk. In the early 90s, DJT had to go his brother and sister to borrow money. And I'm reading this verbatim, so that's why it's being said like that. Otherwise, the end. No one knew. I guess I could tell that this is Epstein typing because of that. Matt, Sammy the Bull, so he's talking about mobsters now, kept him sane. Can't do algebra. Now COO of Trump org. Ha. I exist as I am. That is enough. Walt Whitman. I know. That is why and I'm reading the whole thing just to try to get more context of why they were talking about this person falling off the building. The Dems are using Farah potent. Donald doesn't respect him at all. Win? Yep. Same with Adelson. Anyone with Macau interests. Fragile. Worse than fragile. Deep shit. They already threw their contact off a 40-story building. Interesting. I wonder which one is Jeffrey and which one's the other person. And like, why is this person redacted? Like this this is crazy because they're essentially talking about blackmailed public officials from other countries. Worse than fragile, deep shit. They already threw their contact off a 40-story building. He was the lucky one. Indeed. You in town week of the 8th? Like it was nothing, should be. Trying to figure out my schedule, I give a major address to the World Affairs Club of Philadelphia on our economic war with China. Okay, let's figure this shit out. Who said that? Who? Let me figure this out. Hold on. Can you figure out from this context who this is that said this? Let's see what we got. Okay, so this is Steve Bannon. That was Steve Bannon on January 15, 2019. He gave a talk titled America Fights Back Our Economic War with China at the Lowe's Philadelphia Hotel. So that's who's in this. And that's who he's talking about the blackmail contact stuff. That's pretty crazy. And the whole, you know, and he's talking about the economic war with China. It's pretty crazy. And who knows? Like, and that's just a whole other. Who was tossed off the building? Let's see. Zang Zong, the head of China's liaison office to Macau. Let's see. Yeah, there's a couple stories about it. He was the head of a Chinese government office, born 1979. So could be. But that one was pretty wild, for sure.